This meeting is being held in compliance with the Brown Act. SCAG offices are open for members of the public to attend and participate in person. Instructions for providing public comment have been provided in advance and are also included in the agenda packet. If a member of this body is attending remotely but is not at a location specified on the agenda, they may observe and comment as a member of the public, but may not participate in any member discussion or voting of this body. For all members participating remotely, please ensure your microphone is muted when not in use. Please state your name during deliberations and whether making a motion or offering a second. Any voting member or member of the public calling into this meeting by telephone can press *6 to mute and unmute. All telephone participants should identify themselves prior to speaking. SCAG encourages all members of the public to participate in its meetings. We are committed to holding meetings accessible to people with disabilities. For members of the public requiring ADA accommodation, please call 213-630-1410. SCAG offers free interpretation services for members of the public needing information in another language. Please call 213-236-1895. The meeting will now begin.
Well, good morning, everybody in attendance in person and also everyone online. Glad to have you with us today. It's Thursday, March 5th, 2026. And I'm going to go ahead and call the Environment and or Energy and Environment Committee is now called to order. I'll repeat this for those that are just coming online. As a reminder, if a member of this body is attending remotely, but not in a location specified on the agenda, they may observe and comment as a member of the public, but may not participate in any member discussion voting of this body. I'm going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance today, and I'd like to ask Jenny Crosswhite to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
And over the heart for me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you for that. And next, we have the clerk confirm a quorum.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have quorum.
Oh, thank you very much. So for right now, open it up to the general public for comment period for the meeting. This is the time for members of the public to offer comments for matters within SCAG's jurisdiction, but are not listed on the agenda. Those will come at the time of the agenda item. Staff, have we received any written public comments before the 5 p.m. deadline last evening?
No comments.
All right, well, thank you with that. Do we have any comments in attendance? Hearing none. Okay, so we will go ahead and close the public comment period and move on to our agenda items. So in order to save time, if anybody wants to pull anything from the consent calendar, I ask that we have staff present before moving the roll call vote for the consent calendar. Do we have anyone that would like to remove an item from the consent for further discussion? Okay. So we're going to move on now to our first action item. First action item today is item number 1, election of chair and vice chair. And Jeffrey Elder will facilitate the item. Chief Counsel, thank you.
Good morning. Thank you. Jeff Elder, Chief Counsel here at SCAG. Really quickly, before we begin, is there any public comments on this item? Any online?
None online.
Okay, thank you. So today we have the election of the chair and the vice chair for the committee. We're going to start with the EEC chair. We have one nomination received before the meeting. Rick Dennison of Yucca Valley has been nominated to continue as chair of the committee. We do allow for nominations from the floor. I have a script to read if we have any nominations, but before we move on to that, I'd just like to see if there's anybody that's interested in nominating themselves or somebody else who's a member of the EEC to the position of chair. Seeing none, I'm going to close the opportunity to nominate for that and move on to vice chair before we take a vote on these nominations. So for the position of vice chair, we also received one nomination. We received a nomination for Daniel Ramos of Adelanto to remain in his position as vice chair. We are going to open the floor for any nominations for yourself or somebody else on the EEC at this time. Seeing none, we will have a congratulations for the two nominations. Would either of you like to say anything before we hold the vote?
Well, I would just like to say thank you for your support. This has been a very important committee, obviously to SCAG, and there's a lot of value in it, and I appreciate everyone that attends remotely and here. And I'm very thankful that I can continue for the rest of the year. We had a short term, the vice chair and myself, and so this will give us an opportunity to do a full calendar year in addition to the time we've done. So thank you.
Sure. All right. Thank you, sir.
Or share like everything.
All right. Yes, no, as well. Thank you all for your continued trust and support to serve you all as your vice chair for another year. Just a quick comment statement that I wanted to share. You know, when you have an awesome superstar chair who never misses a day or never misses a beat, you know, sometimes you find yourself, you know, wondering, well, what am I doing here? What should I do as a vice chair? Hey, Rick, can you skip today so that I can, you know, do something? But you know, as the year went on, I found what worked for me, and hopefully you guys, you know, take this for the future incoming chairs and vice chairs, is take this opportunity to really learn the committee, right? Listen and observe for what people are passionate about and what they really care about when it comes to energy and environment, so that when the day comes, or if the day comes that I'm in this leadership role, you know, I know what to work with staff on and what to bring to the attention of this committee. For example, you know, my good friend and mentor, Mr. Art Bishop, you know, on the screen there from the amazing town of Apple Valley. I know that he cares about bringing energy to the region because we lack energy. Miss Maggie Clark, right? Mayor Maggie Clark, you know, one thing I know for a fact she cares about is trees and shade, right? We can talk about whatever we want, but we better bring some trees and some shade to her city because it means a lot to her. One of my mentors here at SCAG, our very own second VP, Miss Jenny Crosswhite from the city of Santa Paula, right? She cares about clean power, right, and ensuring that Santa Paula remains a vibrant city, which it already is. Another one, you know, the stylish Mayor Patricia Locke Dawson, right? A lot of people don't know that, you know, she's only been the second woman in the history of Riverside's only citywide elected office to be elected into that. And not to how does that convert, or how does she convert or translate into energy and environment? She's an environmental scientist, right, and a wildlife biologist. So she cares about environment, all environments. So take this, I say all that to say, you know, take your time. If you're the vice chair and you're not able to run the meeting, get to know the committee, get to know the staff. So again, thank you for your continued support, and I look forward to continuing to learn from you all for this next year.
Great, thank you both. So we're going to combine the two actions. So this is going to be an item for EEC Chair Rick Dennison and EEC Vice Chair Daniel Ramos. And could the clerk please do a roll call vote?
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. I'll proceed with roll call. Anna Beltran,
Yes.
Art Bishop,
Yes.
Daniel Brotman,
Yes.
Martha Cardenas Singh,
Yes.
Margaret Clark,
Yes.
Robert Copeland,
Yes.
Jenny Crosswhite,
Yes.
Ned Davis, Rick Dennison,
Yes.
Carmen Hernandez,
Yes.
Britt Huff,
Yes.
Brian Joes, Joe Kalmick,
Yes.
Stephen Leish, Elaine Litzer,
Yes.
Patricia Lockdawson,
Aye.
Fanny Lopez,
Yes.
Jeanette Sanchez Palacios,
Yes.
Patty Senecal, Jennifer Stark,
Yes.
Ali Taj,
Yes.
Tamala Takahashi, Connor Trout, Stephanie Bergen,
Yes.
Dale Welty. Okay, thank you. Chair, the nominations for Rick Dennison as chair and Daniel Ramos as vice chair passes with 18 votes yes, 0 votes no, and 0 abstentions.
Sherry Horn votes yes, too.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to go on to our agenda items now. So we'll move on to the consent calendar. We have under consent the minutes, item number 2, item number 3, 4, and 5. Does anyone have any comments or would like to pull anything off of consent calendar? If not, I will look for a motion to move consent calendar as presented.
I'll move.
We have a Kalmick moved and a second, please.
I'll second. Jennifer Stark, City of Claremont.
Okay, Stark, Kalmick and Stark for first and second. Roll call, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Annabelle Tran,
Yes.
Art Bishop,
Yes.
Daniel Brotman,
Yes.
Martha Cardenas Singh,
Yes.
Margaret Clark,
Yes.
Robert Copeland,
Yes.
Jenny Crosswhite,
Yes.
Ned Davis, Rick Dennison,
Yes.
Carmen Hernandez,
Yes.
Sherry Horn,
Yes.
Britt Huff,
Yes.
Brian Joes, Joe Kalmick,
Yes.
Stephen Leish, Elaine Litzer,
Yes.
Patricia Lockdawson,
Aye.
Vianney Lopez, Daniel Ramos,
Ramos, yes.
thank you, Jeanette Sanchez Palacios,
Yes.
Patty Senecal, Jennifer Stark,
Yes.
Ali Taj,
Yes.
Tamala Takahashi, Connor Trout, Stephanie Bergen,
Yes.
Dale Welty. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion for consent calendar passes with 19 votes yes, 0 votes no, and 0 abstention.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on now to information items. We have quite a few just in presentation time. We're over an hour, about an hour and 15. So make sure that we use our time wisely and brief comments to the speakers. I would like to ask staff if we could also make sure that we have the contact information for our 4 presentations today. So any committee members can follow up and personally contact them for any follow-up questions or thoughts. We have 4 good presentations today. They're going to bring a lot of information to the table. We're going to start off today with item number 6, Connect SoCal 2050 Vision Goals and Policy Review. Our presenter is Leslie Caton, SCAG Associate Regional Planner, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, members of the EEC. Happy to be here to give a refresher. So a key component of updating the RDP-SES every 4 years is revisiting the policy elements to ensure that we carry forward what continues to serve our regional goals while also updating policies to reflect emerging challenges and updated analysis. We'll be bringing forth policy update discussions later this year and through next summer prior to the draft plan release in fall 2027. And in preparation for those discussions, I'm here today to present on our starting point, which are the policy elements that were adopted in Connect SoCal 2024. In Connect SoCal 2024, we conducted a major restructuring and update of the RTP-SES elements guided by the collaboration among the policy committees, subject matter subcommittees, working groups, and stakeholder engagement throughout plan development. The new policy structure includes the following elements listed here. The overarching vision and goals, which articulate where we want to be by 2050. The regional planning policies, which provide guidance for integrating land use and transportation planning to realize the vision of Connect SoCal. They're intended to serve as a resource for county transportation commissions and local jurisdictions who can refer to specific policies to demonstrate alignment with the RTPSES, especially when seeking resources from state or federal programs. And finally, under each regional planning policy area are the implementation strategies. These articulate priorities for SCAG efforts in fulfilling or going beyond the regional planning policies. And these are areas where SCAG leads, partners, or supports other responsible parties. Now, based on engagement with stakeholders and the public for the last cycle, we developed a vision for Southern California in 2050. And it's a healthy, prosperous, accessible, and connected region for a more resilient and equitable future. This includes goals across our 4 main pillars of mobility, communities, the environment, and the economy. On the slide, these are the policy areas under which the regional planning policies and implementation strategies are organized. While the policy structure was updated and new policy areas were added, many areas were carried on from previous cycles and remain evergreen in our pursuit of our long-range regional goals. Another important thing about these policy areas is that they are deeply integrated, meaning that choices that we make about land use in our communities can impact whether or not we're resilient to climate change. And similarly, investments that we make in mobility can create more equitable access to economic opportunity. So that concludes my refresher on the vision, goals, and policy areas. We look forward to returning to discuss this more in the near future. The next stop being the Joint Policy Committee in April, where we will share the draft policy development framework, which outlines the approach to updating the policy elements. So this includes a proposal for the creation of a special RTP SES subcommittee focused on high-level guidance on policy and specific subject-specific items that will still route to the policy committees. Complementing our policy development process and this new cycle is the Connect SoCal Futures exercise. In traditional planning practice, we do a lot of analysis to understand and plan for a shared regional vision. This plan considers what will likely happen and envisions the future that we want for the region. The Futures Initiative is meant to explore the question of what could happen. This initiative adds an uncertainty lens to discussions that will help us reflect on the varying social, technological, economic, environmental, and political dynamics of our world. The findings from this exercise will help us understand which policies and strategies are robust and resilient across multiple possible futures, not just the probable ones. And as mentioned in last month's meeting, we are engaging with more parties and stakeholders around the region on plan development elements related to data collection and policy development. On that, the local data exchange process is launching next month, which is the primary opportunity for local jurisdictions to provide input on the regional growth forecast and ensures that Connect SoCal is informed by locally validated data and reflective of local growth visions. Thank you for your time, and glad to answer any questions. For contact.
So one question for me is, it shows Camille on here and the agenda item here is showing Leslie, and I was hoping that was actually your name when I called.
Yeah,
Okay.
I am Leslie,
All right.
thank you.
So the actual printed agenda shows someone else.
Yes.
Now for the contact. So we would get in contact with you to follow up then. Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you very much. That was
Thank
great.
you.
So I'm going to open it up for any comments from those who in attendance first. Seeing none online, do we have any members wishing to speak on this item?
I see no raised hands.
And we'll open it up for public comments. Seeing no hands and no one in the room. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you. Oh,
Oh, you know.
What?
Art just raised.
Oh. Art Bishop, I missed you again, sir. You have a question for the speaker? Art, you're muted at this time.
Just a quick comment.
We
It was
see
a
it.
great presentation, but just looking at the fact that our Southern California, Los Angeles area just had the largest financial fire loss in the history of wildland fires. And I look at, and under environmental for policy areas, I'm just wondering, Mr. Chair, if there's a possibility if somehow we can include the threat of disasters, either wildland, which obviously has been our most recent and greatest loss in the history of the United States, but just in disasters in general. So I'm just wondering if that's something we may want to consider as a committee in the group. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your comment. I believe that, natural disasters like you spoke of, whether they're man-made or not, but they're consumed within our environment. Those are important things to certainly discuss. It looks like under environment, we do talk about a few things, but it doesn't talk about the emergency aspect. Could you speak on that?
yes. So that's one of the goals of the Futures Initiative is to speak to or look at uncertainties with wildfires and other shocks and stressors that the region may face. So with sea level rise, with wildfires, that is one of the reasons why we thought it important to try this new futures exercise to expand how we talk about policy discussions to include looking at uncertainties beyond the statutory requirements of the plan.
Yeah, I think that would be a good addition. The agenda item does list the things that we had brought on board in 24 and to expand more views of these items. Member Crosswhite has an additional question also.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, I think as we look at that aspect, because I guess I assumed it fell under resilience, but if it doesn't, then just being aware of the fact that the way that we experience emergencies is changing.
Mhm.
Like I've always thought of wildfires and sea level rise, and we've been having massive erosion and we're not by the coast. But with the amount of water that has been coming down in the rain events, everywhere there's a river, every time it rains, we're losing 5 to 15 to 20 feet along along certain sections of those bodies. So thinking about just making sure that we're thinking about the way that we've traditionally thought about those impacts is definitely changing. Because I remember 4 years ago, I was asked, well, how is coastal erosion affecting you? Coastal erosion isn't. And now since then, we've had all of these events where folks are losing massive amounts of property and we're 12 miles inland. So it's not just a coastal issue, it's anywhere there's rain issue. And I know that, in the inland areas, they've been having flooding. And so I think it's just looking at how are some of these things changing and so whether that's captured under resilience or whether that's its own category.
Great, thank you.
Good comments. Any other comments on the ideas or for the speaker? Seeing none. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the addition too.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item number 7, release of SCAG's Regional Resilience Toolkit. And Sebastian Chetty will be our presenter today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. My name is Sebastian Chetty, and I'm an Associate Regional Planner in SCAG's Sustainable and Resilient Development Department. And I'm here this morning to share with you about our now completed Regional Resilience Toolkit. This toolkit's public release is a couple years in the making, so we're really excited to share this work with you. Okay. So just a quick roadmap of what we'll cover here. We'll go over why the toolkit was created, what you can find contained within, and what you can do with it. And the toolkit is now publicly available on our website, should you choose to look through it while we go through.
Oh, there we go.
So resilience challenges generally fall into two categories. We categorize them into shocks and stressors, shocks being acute events and stressors being the conditions that make us vulnerable to these events that are chronic and exist over time. An example of a large shock that the region has faced recently was the fires last year, and a number of the extreme precipitation events that have caused flooding that we weren't necessarily prepared for. For every $1 invested in resilience programming, we save $13 as a society per the US Chamber of Commerce. So planning for resilience is not just a nice to have, it's not just good planning, it is addressing our fiscal responsibility to our communities as well. Some of the indirect costs of not addressing resilience in our communities can include lost jobs, displacement, long-term economic disruption from short-term events. If we don't boost our adaptive capacity, short-term events become long-term impacts on our communities. SCAG's role in resilience is very important because climate issues, resilience challenges do not stop at jurisdictional boundaries. They cross the region, they cross the state, the country. And SCAG's role as not a regulator, but in supporting, connecting, and equipping our communities to deal with the challenges that they're facing. It enables regional coordination to address these cross-cutting challenges. And it's important to emphasize that the toolkit is voluntary guidance and not a mandate. We want the toolkit to be a resource that our jurisdictions use because it's useful and not because they're required to. The toolkit includes policy guidance, resources, and emphasizes the importance of convening to address these challenges. So the toolkit is designed to help users understand why resilience planning is important to begin with, how to plan for the scale and capacity that your jurisdiction exists at, know the key steps that go into resilience planning, and to generally provide the resources that planners, emergency managers, public works departments, and elected officials need to respond to evolving threats. So when using the toolkit, we wanted it to be accessible and easily navigable by the users. And because of that, we've structured it so that you can start anywhere within it. It's not required that you read it end to end for it to be useful. And it can be used either as a step-by-step guide to resilience planning or as a resource to fill any gaps in your existing resilience planning process that you may have. It also provides guidance on complying with state mandates and provides direction for navigating the grant and funding process. One of the primary responsibilities a jurisdiction has in addressing resilience challenges is understanding the actual risks that face their communities. And the toolkit assists with this, and it varies from traditional hazard mitigation processes because it accounts for the fact that shocks and stressors tend to compound. These threats don't exist in isolation from one another. So for an example, chronic drought can strain the water systems that we then rely on to fight fires. And fires then can create the conditions for more landslides to happen later. And so these things compound over time. So in order to understand the compounding nature of these different shocks and stressors, the toolkit includes a framework that includes 4 components. So we have looking at the shocks and stressors that are present, the community's existing vulnerability and exposure to these shocks and stressors, different planning parameters that can be used to conceptualize and address these challenges, and how to integrate regionally on these different shocks and stressors. Community and stakeholder engagement, as with any planning process, is critically important to resilience planning. The risk assessment process is very valuable for finding out what the data says, but engagement really allows us to understand what's happening on the ground in our communities. Impacted communities are a knowledge source and not just a process requirement, particularly when it comes to addressing the vulnerabilities that are implicated in resilience challenges. So because engagement improves outcomes before, during, and after these disruptions, the toolkit is designed to weave engagement throughout. The toolkit provides a framework with 5 steps. Identify the challenges, evaluate and prioritize the strategies that you'll use to address the challenges, fund and implement the solutions that you design, and monitor their performance over time. It's a process that, again, can be engaged with at any stage or can be followed end to end, whatever works best for your particular community and whatever issue area you're addressing at a particular time. This process also emphasizes the benefits or the co-benefits that come with resilience action, including health, equity, and economic vitality. One of the primary benefits of the toolkit is that jurisdictions, when doing resilience work, don't have to start from scratch. We've done the work of compiling different resources and approaches that are available to jurisdictions of all sizes and capacity levels, including case studies from across the SCAG region to show how some of these principles have been implemented, general resilience planning resources, example plans for integrating resilience into existing documents, tools for characterizing the shocks and stressors affecting your community, resources for engaging vulnerable and impacted communities, and example strategies that can be developed and employed in addressing resilience. So as far as what local jurisdictions can do with the toolkit beyond learning more about resilience planning, they can use the toolkit to adapt any existing policy approaches to the size and capacity of their jurisdiction. They can integrate resilience into planning processes that are already underway, which is critically important and a key factor of the toolkit. And connecting with SCAG to leverage the data and information resources that we have compiled here for your benefit. The toolkit is a starting point. It's not an end point. And resilience planning is an ongoing and iterative process. So it's meant to be the initiation of an ongoing conversation between jurisdictions and between jurisdictions and SCAG. Because these challenges operate at a kind of a cross-cutting level, the region's only as strong as our least prepared jurisdiction. And so we really all have to coordinate and cooperate across boundaries to address the challenges that are facing our region. For more information on the toolkit, we'll be holding a Toolbox Tuesday webinar on April 21st, where we will discuss the contents and application of the toolkit more thoroughly and can engage on a more one-on-one level. Thanks for your time this morning to share about this work. I really believe in it and I feel it's really important. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee might have.
Really great presentation, and we have to do a whole day on this. Right now, deep dive into categories to be broken down into. So the plan to action, the ground we have, I think, is a really good starting point. We're going to open it up right now for public comment on this item. If you want to have any comments online or in attendance. I see one hand from Brian Gross from.
Thank you, sir. Just a quick question. I know when we're talking about resiliency, out in Chino Hills, we're in the middle of making our building our 4th fire station and our first helihydrant pad. Is there a place that you can envision with us talking about an issue that we're running into with our fire insurance being canceled by private policies and us being forced to potentially go to the state is something to talk about when it comes to economic inequity and the resiliency that goes along with rebuilding after a fire?
Thank you for your question. And if I understand your question properly, I believe that it will be helpful. The toolkit includes resources on funding, financing, and maintaining programming across policy areas, and it also includes resources on planning for response to fire event or disaster events broadly, as well as recovery, including economic development strategies.
Yeah.
And this is Ryan Wolf. Just wanted to add that, as Sebastian mentioned, from a funding perspective, we, in our broader work at SCAG, are also looking to support components such as climate resilience districts, EIFDs. We're also partnering with California Forward. And part of the goal behind this is not only to help jurisdictions pursue comprehensive funding strategies, but also really to ensure investments go into community in a way which reduces their vulnerability and thereby increases the likelihood and the ability of that community to maintain its insurability as well. So the toolkit is one component of this work, but certainly we are looking at the other components, which are how do we help communities invest in themselves to reduce that risk. So today at the RC, there is actually an item which will dive into this a little bit further about some of our work related to climate resilient districts and other related efforts.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, great comments. Thank you. Anyone else? Member Crosswhite.
I know you said that there'll be more presentations in a Toolbox Tuesday, but could you give us one example of something that is in the toolkit? Do you know any of?
By something in the, do you mean one of the case studies or resources or?
Yeah, like, because we talk about how they're scalable and but like, what's an example of something we might expect to see in the toolkit?
So one, I guess to address the scalable part, one of the things that we provide is guidance on how to integrate resilience into existing planning domains. So that would be general plan elements, emergency management plans, existing municipal functions, and because our jurisdictions vary in size and capacity so much, kind of looking at the scale component there is a really important part of that integration. And then as part of that, we also provide lists of different funding resources and best practices as far as funding and financing goes that are targeted at different, I guess, scales or levels. Does that answer your question?
All right, I guess we'll see do you know when they're going to post the toolkit?
It's available now.
Oh, it is on there now?
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Vice Chair Ramos was next, and then we'll move on. Thank you.
Actually, no, go.
Oh, okay, go right ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. I just have two quick questions. And you mentioned this a little in your last address. How does this toolkit correspond with like climate plan efforts? I know that Yasmin Amani McMorrin, Culver City Westside Cobb. I know that Culver City is in the midst of revamping our climate plan efforts, and it looks like there's a little overlap with some of the things that you were uplifting in your report. And in addition to the Tuesday, I forget what it was, but it's very cute sounding. So in addition to that, will there be ongoing technical assistance, and like what's an expected timeline for, working and developing something like this?
Sure. So to address the first part of your question, wait, sorry, could you repeat the first part again?
I love a compound. I apologize.
Right.
So I was questioning how this toolkit would buttress or work alongside climate plans.
Oh, right.
Because I know we're in the midst of updating ours, and the fire department and other departments are kind of working together. And it just seems like this would be a great tool to integrate in that. So I'm going to share it. But I'm just curious if there are best practices with that. And I can repeat the other one. But let's start.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this is a really great example of a way to employ the resources in the toolkit. So using a climate action plan as an example, the framework that's laid out within the toolkit applies to resilience planning broadly. So it's something that you would consult, refer to, work with as you're designing the planning process from the beginning. And then once you are engaged in the planning process, it also provides resources for each step of the process. So even if you don't need the toolkit to help you kind of structure and design the planning process, it still includes resources that are helpful at each step of the way. So for example, it provides engagement resources for the engagement portion of the planning process, different funding sources and strategies for different kinds of plans and the programs that would be implemented as a result of a plan. Case studies showing how different jurisdictions have tackled various kind of resilience challenges and different planning processes. Let's see. And then also like tools for understanding and developing policy to respond to the specific threats that a jurisdiction faces on a climate front. There are really resources that touch kind of each stage of the planning process. It would be very useful for that. So.
Well, I'm looking forward to sharing it back. And the last piece was just about the timeline and ongoing technical assistance that might be available from you or your team here.
Yeah, so we are kind of kicking off the rollout of the toolkit with the Toolbox Tuesday webinar on April 21st. And then we are currently in the process of scoping out additional resources to follow from this. So we haven't defined any technical assistance programming to come from this yet. However, the toolkit is intended to be kind of a platform from which we work more closely with our jurisdictions to provide that kind of support and assistance.
Awesome.
Great, thank you. Good comments. Back to you, Vice Chair.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Just one quick question and a couple comments. Do we have a time yet for that April 21st?
Oh, time of day?
Yeah.
I believe it's 12:30 p.m., but I can get back to you on that.
Okay, please. And if we can disperse that to the rest of the committee, I would appreciate it. I think you guys, you nailed it actually with your last closing statement there on what I feel is going to be really key to make this program successful is that SCAG as a partner, right? To be there to really walk us through it. For SCAG, the benefit is you guys will begin to work closely and maybe better relationships with all of our municipalities, but it will encourage us, right, to encourage our cities and our staff to really dive into this program and take advantage of it. So thank you for that. Your opening statement was what I wanted to highlight. Every $1 invested in resilience saves 13 in damages and indirect consequences. Key and clutch to highlight for the members that were present at a meeting we had, I want to say it was last March, February, shortly after the fires. I'll never forget a stat that was delivered to us by one of the speakers where they said, California right now is spending 8 times more on response and recovery than they are in prevention, right? So this is a big step on SCAG doing their job to potentially start to bring a little more balance to that. I get it, and I understand that we potentially will in life spend a little bit more on, recovery and response, but when you're spending 8 times more, that there's a problem there. So thank you for highlighting that and pointing that out.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. And I just want to echo that collaboration and cooperation is really so key to becoming more resilient as a region. So very much appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Sebastian, I'm looking forward to it. I've done some of the earlier tools that you've had. This one I'm looking forward to, and it may actually answer some questions I have, but common theme that I hear from many boards that I'm on, internally in my own town, and then also all the way up to the largest MPO that we have right here, is that one size doesn't fit all. And so that is listed under one of your evaluation parameters. And so important to people that they want to just get to the things that are important to them. So as we go from populations that are maybe 10 or 20,000 all the way up to hundreds of thousands, everybody has a different need. So I'm looking forward to seeing it and how quickly I can drill down to what the answer that my constituents want. And that's really important because sometimes we get lost in a box of tools trying to find the right tool. We have to make the sets, hopefully, and that's what I'm going to be looking at, is that I can quickly get to the toolbox I need. Yeah. So it's one of those things, but we do hear that one size does not fit all. And that's an important piece that I was really glad to see in here. So thank you for that. Any other questions from members? I see no hands, no one online. Thank you, Sebastian, very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Make an announcement.
Okay. I don't know about that. So thank you for attending, Comek. Glad to see you here in our small but very important committee.
Everybody on their best behavior.
Yes. I know he's busy, and for him to take the time to be with us is very valued. I appreciate that. Next up is one that we've heard on before, and I'm very interested in this subject matter too, is item number 8, LA County Heat Action Plan. And so we have Ali Frazzini.
Ali Frazzini, yes.
Frazzini,
Yeah,
thank you so much, Ali. The floor is yours.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here today. And I'm glad to be speaking after Sebastian because I think our plan can probably be looked at in a sense as complementary to the Regional Resilience Toolkit and kind of a deep dive on what do we need to do about the increase in temperatures and extreme heat. So a little bit about my office before I talk about the plan. We're a small policy shop within the county government. We both advise the board offices on policy making and support coordination and implementation among and between county departments. And it is also central to our mission to support other change makers and decision makers across the region in advancing a vision for a sustainable region. And climate change, of course, is a central concern for us and building resilience for it. And that is exactly where the Heat Action Plan fits in. Let's see if I can figure out how this works. Okay, great. So the development of this plan was inspired by many things. It is partly an outgrowth of our climate vulnerability assessment from 2021, and also just a reaction to what we see and are experiencing as a changing climate. Our average daily temperatures are already higher now than they were a few decades ago. We're already seeing more frequent heat waves. And there's growing research on what the impacts of heat are to our communities and to our society. I think most of us can probably agree that when it gets quite hot out, it's an annoyance. You get cranky and things get harder to do. But we also know that for example, when kids are in schools that get too hot, they don't learn as well. The research has shown us that. We know that when workers are in workplaces that are too hot and they don't, get sufficient breaks, they're more likely to get injured. And heat results in the obvious, sometimes unfortunate outcome of heat stroke and even death. But it's not always visible that it is sort of a contributing factor to things like asthma attacks and heart attacks and reduced productivity and broader societal issues. So we're working on building heat resilience because we want to address all of these impacts. And we're trying to visibilize some of these things to emphasize the urgency of addressing these growing heat waves, increase in temperatures, et cetera. As Sebastian was emphasizing, there are economic costs to this changing climate and to more frequent and extreme heat in particular. And so again, without action, we think these impacts will be continuing to grow worse. The purpose of the plan is to, again, address those broad range of impacts. And we, within the plan, demonstrate and outline all of the commitments by the county to take action to address those impacts. But we also want to generate action and support action by cities and other decision makers. And we know that heat doesn't stop at city lines, of course, and so solutions shouldn't either. So one thing that I'll continue to emphasize throughout this presentation is that we did build this plan with input from cities and other regional partners, and we are intending to implement it in partnership and to support and encourage cities as well to take action. And let's see, I also want to just refer back to what Sebastian was saying about compounding hazards. We do know that heat intersects with our other, with wildfire, with drought, the other climate hazards we face in the region. And we do reference in the plan how some of the strategies we want to take to address heat will also benefit and build resilience to those other hazards. And there are some strategies that we need to advance specifically to address heat concerns. So our vision for a heat resilient region is a future where every resident is protected from the dangers of extreme heat. Children can play outside safely on hot summer days, and neighborhoods thrive with shaded streets and energy efficient, heat safe homes and workplaces. And because even as much as we are working to mitigate climate change, we know it will continue to get hotter. We also want communities and first responders to be more prepared for more extreme heat waves so that vulnerable groups in particular are able to stay safe and our region avoids the potential health and economic toll of these events. So just a little bit about the plan development process. I just want to again emphasize that we developed this plan with input from many different stakeholders and community leaders and deep involvement and input from technical experts as well, including researchers from several different institutions and from implementers from our county departments and other agencies that are doing the on-the-ground work of change. And we know how hard that is. And we've really been trying to document, what are some of the ways we need to overcome barriers to change. And so this chart just demonstrates sort of different types of engagement that we did throughout, all of which were highly cross-sector. Again, to emphasize, we've really tried to build this in a way that is useful for all of the relevant groups. So the plan is really equity-centered. Equity considerations are central to it. They're one of 5 guiding principles. And all of our guiding principles are really in service of preventing increasing heat impacts as represented by our target. Our plan-wide target is to prevent by 2045, prevent 30% of projected increased heat-related emergency department visits. We've been seeing increases in these impacts over the years. That's documented in our hospital data. And we want to take these actions to level those out, so that our communities can continue to do as well as they're doing, and and we'll work to make things even better, and prevent them from getting worse in the coming years. There we go. This is just shows the structure of the plan. It has 3 main goals, and I will go into those in the coming slides. And each goal has multiple strategies. Each strategy has multiple actions, and it's those actions, that action level where we've actually documented what county departments will be doing to advance the action, sort of what are their implementation steps, what's our expected timelines, and the level of resources they might require. Those details are documented at the very end of our plan. And we hope that they can be helpful reference points for other decision makers who are looking at taking similar actions. So goal 1 of the plan is really about our outdoor spaces. It's about making them not just safer, but more livable, right? Ensuring that people have more usable hours outdoors, and that even as days get hotter, the amount of time that people can spend outside doesn't shrink, which is a strong possibility, right? When we did engagement, we heard from plenty of people like, oh, when it's hot out, I just stay inside. And we don't want that future for our communities. Our outdoor spaces are important for engaging and connecting and being healthy and active. So we have some strategies in this goal that relate to what might be very familiar as urban heat island mitigation, urban greening and tree planting. We know that in some of our unincorporated parts of the county, certainly, and probably in many cities, those things are easier said than done. There are many streets where it's hard to plant trees because there's very narrow sidewalks and lots of underground infrastructure that can conflict with the tree roots. So we've highlighted in the plan that we'll need to be innovative. In some places that might mean depaving and changing our street design, or depaving parking spots, so that we can create room for these solutions. And in addition to those types of innovative urban heat island mitigation strategies, we also know how important it is to reduce direct exposure to solar radiance, which is sort of a different metric from the urban heat effect. The urban heat effect doesn't change when you go from sun to shade, but your feeling of how hot it is and your own safety does change. And so we know that shade, regardless of how it's provided, is one of the most impactful strategies for keeping people safe. And we are looking to facilitate the addition of constructed shade in places where that is strategic, because there's lots of people spending time, and where it is a really effective way to support their safety. And so that may include things like supporting greater use of awnings and use of existing poles on our streets to attach materials to that can provide shade. And then we also have a few actions within this goal around actually preserving and supporting the natural resources that already exist, and ensuring, for example, that our trees themselves and our parks are maintained in a way that they are not overly stressed from heat, and our trees don't die out. And so just to wrap up the description of this goal, I want to quote one of the researchers that we worked with, Kelly Turner at UCLA. We shouldn't have to put life on pause because it's hot. And there's so much that we need to do outdoors in order to prevent that from happening. Goal 2 is all about the indoors. We see this as a very important component of the work because nationwide data shows that nearly half of all heat-related deaths occur in the home. And even though when we think about heat, we think about that, direct sun bearing down on us and the pain that can create. But really a lot of the suffering sort of happens silently in the home environment. And so we, at the county level, have recently passed an indoor maximum temperature threshold. That's a sort of a renter heat safety policy that will require landlords to ensure that their units can stay under 82 degrees. And we are encouraging the whole region to look at strategies for protecting renters and heat vulnerable residents from excessive levels of heat in the home and in congregate facilities. We also really want to emphasize that this does not have to just mean air conditioning, right? There are so many strategies we can and should be using to promote cooling of our buildings, in particular the buildings where there are vulnerable occupants. So that's passive strategies, from cool roofs to solar films on window to trees over, roofs for shorter buildings, as well as leveraging, where we can, efforts to decarbonize, so that, when we are going somewhere to, upgrade, HVAC equipment, that it's being made more efficient, replaced with a heat pump, et cetera. And we're really trying to integrate these efforts to the maximum extent possible and support as energy efficient as possible strategies for keeping our buildings safe. And that also means recognizing that during the worst heat waves and the most extreme conditions, there are some types of buildings and facilities that don't need to be cooled as much, right? And so really working closely with our energy service providers to ensure that demand response programs are maximized and that energy is used to keep people safe first and foremost. Let's see. I think I can move on to the next goal here. Our third and final goal is less sort of physically rooted. We covered the outdoors, we covered the indoors. Both of those are fairly focused on physical changes that need to be made. Goal 3 is really about programmatic more so and communication related activities, and in particular leading up to and during extreme heat events. So we want to build robust communication networks and emergency management operations to promote heat safety. And I'm sure that for many of your cities, sort of the main avenue for keeping or enabling people to stay safe during heat is opening up cooling centers. And that's such an important strategy. We want to look at how we can really make those cooling centers places that people want to go and can go. And that may mean, trying to find additional transportation options to them, making them open and available for more hours. That's something that we're struggling with at the county. We know that can be hard from a budgeting perspective. And but we know that it's important to community members. We've certainly heard that time and again. In addition, we're also looking at partnering more with community organizations that offer cool spaces, because not everybody wants to go to a library or to a government-run facility, to stay cool. And there are community organizations that already do or are willing to function in that way. And so as we've seen done in other places like Arizona, Maricopa County, they've done this great work of establishing sort of a heat relief network, hundreds of community organizations that participate as cool spots. We're hoping to start setting something up like that in this area as well. And that will mean in some cases that we need to find ways to help those organizations build their capacity. And there are plenty of organizations that may not have a space, but can be really valuable partners in terms of getting the word out about what people can do, where they can go, what resources are available. So we're also building more robust communication networks in advance of extreme heat events to help get the word out during them. And then finally, as a county, government with a public health department, which I know many cities don't have their own public health department, so this in some ways will probably be more unique to the county's own role. We are really looking to improve the capacity of the health system to mitigate and prepare for and respond to heat risks. And partly that includes building up the health department's own capacity for measuring impacts and preparing and monitoring how effective our strategies are. And it also means working with hospitals and helping to make sure that they're prepared. We've heard from health providers that sometimes, the physicians, the clinicians in the hospital don't even realize when there's a heat wave going on. Like, they may be seeing a surge of patients and they've been in the hospital with its fluorescent lights, far from windows for, a long shift. They don't even realize why it's happening. And that can hinder their ability to really be prepared to get people on ice if they need to. If that's, to take temperatures right away and check if that's the issue. So part of the strategy is really to work with the health system. So that finishes my summary of the goals and strategies and actions. As far as the actual implementation of the plan, I'm proud to say that this plan was adopted as sort of an official county framework by our board on February 3rd, just last month. And it will guide sustained and coordinated action at the county level. We already have our county departments committed to that. And again, we are hoping to support cities and other public agencies with taking similar actions within their own jurisdictions, and also coordinating and collaborating where that is going to be helpful. And we've developed some resources that we hope will be helpful to cities. And as we continue to implement the plan, we will be developing additional resources. And you can see some information about that if you dig into the plan itself. And we will also look forward to staying in touch with cities and making folks aware as those resources become available. And to just describe a little bit some of the resources that we have available now. We have a CHAP data viewer, which includes several layers of data that you've probably seen in many different places, right? It has a sensitivity index from our vulnerability assessment. There are many sort of assessments that have similar sort of indices of which communities are likely to be most sort of sensitive to the impacts of a given hazard. It also has tree canopy data, which you may have seen before. But it also has some new layers of data that were created just for the CHAP and that we hope cities will find useful and will be used in other contexts, such as percent of shade at the census block group level. And we have our UCLA research partners are actually continuing to analyze data. The map will continue to be, the data viewer will continue to be built out with even more granular data on level of shade, like on a given street and at a given bus stop. So definitely encourage you to check out that data viewer, and we have a user's guide for it as well to explain it in more detail. We also created a brief for cities. It is on our CHAP website, is labeled Cities at the Center of a Heat Resilient Future, I think. And it just summarizes a short 2-page brief, kind of summarizing how cities can look at the plan and think about how that the strategies and the actions in the plan can sort of translate to their own plans, whether it's a heat specific plan or a climate action and an adaptation plan, and how they can take the ideas and also the resources that will be created by the county into their own jurisdictions. And then again, as I mentioned, as we implement, we will be creating more resources that we hope will be useful for cities. One example is the survey that we are developing this year to release to community organizations that we think may be interested in partnering as cool spots. We would certainly be happy for cities to use that and disseminate that. Oh, is my time running up? Okay. One thing that we've specifically heard from cities is that they would be interested in designs for shade or for greening, strategies that could be like kind of pre-approved by the county, or that, streamlined pathways for ensuring that the types of shade we want to install can be relatively quickly and easily approved and implemented. So we are interested in potentially convening with cities in the future, and sort of developing together designs and pathways that can work well across the region. So I think that's about it on the resources. And then for our next steps, I'll just share that we've been keeping an eagle eye on state funding opportunities. You may know that there's one that's expected to come out soon. There's a draft NOFA right now for an extreme heat and community resilience grant. We have lots of our own county departments are interested in it. Lots of community organizations are interested in it. And we want to facilitate coordination among county, cities, community orgs to the maximum extent possible, so that we can really maximize what we can draw down to the LA region from state funding to support heat resilience. That's just one among several different funding opportunities that we've got our eye on. We are preparing for this heat season. Again, as I mentioned, sort of doing that outreach to our communication and community organization networks. And we're also partnering with Metro and LA28 and others on preparation for mega events. Our health department is working on developing health guidelines, I believe, for venues. We're coordinating with Metro and others on communication strategies and fundraising for heat resilience installations that can support safety during these events. And I'm sure that those are relevant to many of you as well. All right, I think that brings me to the end. So thank you, and happy to take any questions.
Oh, Ali, thank you very much. I appreciate yourself coming from LA County to discuss these, because many members of this organization will benefit from it. Even though we're in other counties, this applies to all of us, regionally. There's no doubt about it. So, Member Clark, I figured you would have a comment with this topic. So please, you're first.
Yes, I'm Margaret Clark. I'm on the Rosemead City Council, and I'm on the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments Energy and Environment Committee. And
so you just heard from my colleague Andres yesterday.
So I'm going to say the same thing that Daniel said I always do. Trees clean the air and reduce the heat island effect. And my frustration is when for example, the state is mandating that they're blaming us for the housing crisis and the homeless situation. They say we don't have enough housing. Well, we don't build it, and they've taken away all our money, whatever. So, but one of the problems that I really have is, for example, SB 79 that just passed, and it takes away our local control if you're within certain area of a transit stop, and you could have a 5-story building right next to your single family home. And in that, they don't require backyards. And side yards, so there's no trees. So unintended consequences for something like that, a regulation like that actually hurts the environment. So I'm trying to get environmental groups to get involved in the lobbying situation. I did this. We had a greening situation in our city, and I went out and talked to the people that were sponsoring it. Do you realize that these things are coming down? So I'm hoping that you could get involved in that, because once they do that, we can't mandate any kind of yards.
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective, and certainly, there is a lot of value to yards. I see things a little bit differently. I think that the sort of increase in gentle density is going to be important, for example, for reducing overcrowding, which is also a major issue in the region, and is another risk factor for
the increase in density, did you say?
Yeah, like the gentle density, the gentle increase in sort of allowable number of units, et cetera. I think that when we think about sort of all the factors that are affecting our region right now, that actually is an important step towards making it possible for to reduce overcrowding and enable people to live in apartments that can maintain healthy temperatures. And I think that there are many strategies that can mitigate the impact of the loss of a yard. And for one, creation of small parks. And we at the county, we have this really important park needs assessment and strategy for acquiring small lots that can be little pocket parks, community spaces where people can not only go and cool off, but they're cooling off with neighbors, and they get to really connect in addition to enjoying the outdoors. And so I totally hear your perspective, but I think there are other factors that can really build the case for things like SB 79 as part of a resilient future.
Have a member, sorry, you have your second. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes,
right ahead.
thank you for the presentation. I appreciate it. It's one of the resources I'm always looking for, I'm a council member in Long Beach, Sioux Lizarro, is this coordination between departments on their plan. Because when we talk about greening spaces and we're creating green infrastructure, and I wonder if there's a coordination between County Department of Public Works as well as Parks and Recs, all of these pending projects that may be in specific cities or grant opportunity where there are intersections kind of between your office and other, so that we know they're not happening in silo, but that there are various activities in process or grant funding that may be available that they wouldn't know otherwise if they only looked at your office resource page. So that's always my interest, is these kind of links between other, because they build all those projects, and then member Kalmick and member Clark sits on the San Gabriel and Lower Rivers Lower LA Rivers and Mountains Conservancy, which also provide funding to cities to do build stormwater capture, also just infrastructure to cool their cities. So that's always a maze for all of us as local electeds. And how do we have this framework connected to this other department that's talking about this with the state's also goals around meeting its, climate goals. So I don't know if there's a way, obviously you can't capture everything, but if there's a way you can maybe do links so that there are connections of what's happening in the other department, and your city may be already looking at it or have received a grant or something like that.
So to make sure I understand, like if the county is doing some kind of engagement in a specific city, if it's that engagement is by a specific department, then that department sort of also having information available about what else may be happening from the county in that city, or
Yeah, well, linking plans that you have through the other departments in LA County. I'm not asking you to go to all the other, but at least within other county departments, such as the open space district that has their park plan. Hey, what are the pending grant opportunities to maybe create a pocket park? How do you acquire land through the San Gabriel and Lower LA Rivers Conservancy if you don't have the funding? So it's kind of, maybe it's not in your document, but that's for me always the ongoing challenge, is linking all of the needs our city have to meeting our climate goals in general, right? And also ensuring that there's an important public health considerations such as heat that we have to manage. So I don't know how to do that. That may be a big question beyond you, but that's my ongoing just struggle in how to use frameworks, and then knowing what resources to go to and how does it connect to other department that may be building some of these projects or providing some of these fundings in our respective cities. Thank you.
Yeah, great point. And we did within the PDF, sort of detailed, long version of the plan. We did try to highlight a fair amount of that type of information, but it's an ongoing sort of effort to build our skill at doing that effectively. As you've alluded, it is a difficult thing to do because there are so many different things, and the information can change, right? And then figuring out how to maintain sort of the most up-to-date information about what's available, et cetera. But we work to do that, to the extent that we could in the plan itself, and we'll continue to think about new and additional ways to do it and welcome ideas.
Thank you. I know that was a big question around just connecting an issue, but I mean, that's kind of why consultants have work, right, to do. Thank you.
Exactly.
So thank you, Ally, for that follow-up. We have one more question and we'll have to move on to our next item. But we are providing your information because I even have some follow-up questions for you too and some comments.
Okay.
So thank you for that. We have a member Huff online right now.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I was particularly interested in your last item about funding sources and the county coordinating with the state funding opportunities. And of course, with all federal cutbacks to the state, cities certainly are very worried about any kind of funding coming down from the state. You mentioned the state grants that are currently available. So are those already approved and available for us to apply for?
Yeah, so the specific grant program I mentioned, it's called the Extreme Heat and Community Resilience Program, is offered out of the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation. It is a pre-existing program that had one round of funding a few years ago, and the second round of funding is expected to open up within the next few months.
I see. So those funds are in fact available.
It is partially supported by Proposition 4, and a mix of a few other types of funding as well. But because it has Prop 4 funding, it is going to be largely focused on physical changes that can be made, and that can include tree planting and shade structures, et cetera.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And one last time, reach out for any public comment on this item. Seeing none online or in the room. So thank you very much for your presentation. Appreciate the time. Look forward to more discussions.
Thank you.
Our next item, we're going to move on to number 9, green schoolyard retrofits for resilience. And we have Claire Robinson, Executive Director of Amigos de los Rios.
Perfect.
That's you.
That's me.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about the work that we've been doing for the past 22 years and the problems we're addressing with respect to public school infrastructure. Just my background, I'm trained at Cooper Union in New York City, a School of Art, Architecture, and Engineering. I have a planning degree from London on European cities, and I have my master's of business from UCLA. And we started Amigos to train next generation leaders in sustainable design, bringing nature to the city and integrating, let's see, I'm having trouble changing the slide, sorry. So who we are is a natural infrastructure group, and we have been very inspired by the 1930 Olmsted Bartholomew Plan that was commissioned by the Chamber of Commerce to look at how to create a world-class, sustainable LA County metro area. Compared to other great cities at the time, they were concerned about protecting the upper watersheds of the Santa Monica Mountain, rim of the valley, and Angeles for the ecosystem services, water, recreation, biodiversity. They noted that the river corridors, creeks, washes, and streams should be turned into greenways, and that the beach, the coastline should be protected as biodiversity, but also recreation, and that the amazing islands in the ocean were all part of our biome and that we needed to be aware and protect them. They were also scandalized by the population base in 1930 and the lack of park acreage per people, which is a standard metric that planners use for health. So they called out for not only the measures I mentioned, but also for every school to serve as a park because of the community, the distribution of schools, and the importance that schools play. So our work has been to bring that plan to life with BIPOC and women designers who are entering the field, wanting to give mentoring with our constellation of engineering and private sector, state registered contractors to do real world projects. And in this case, we started our proof of concept in Almonte, South Almonte, along the urban river corridor, the San Gabriel River. All the red dots are schools. There happen to be a lot of schools located up against the river. So we piloted our idea of the importance for the mental health, academic performance, and physical fitness benefits of bringing nature to students. So the problem we're really trying to solve here with our public school infrastructure is that it's not ready for climate change. We are not climate resilient. The model that we have is more like penitentiary in terms of asphalt, expanses of surface, lots of surveillance of students, not a lot of complexity or nature-based spaces. And that's a disconnect between the educational master plans that school districts uphold and the prerogatives of facilities directors. So we're looking at greater inclusivity for neurodiverse and orthopedically challenged students, and a new material science needs to be born immediately to be able to protect children in our state and allow them to have the access to nature that we know is critical. So the population that we're trying to serve ultimately is the 1.3 million students within our K through 12 districts. Our area of focus has been San Gabriel Valley. We've raised about $16 million over the past 22 years to do approximately 16 pilots of what we call watershed discovery schools. Not enough to put a couple of trees in a school and say, we're greened. We're looking at how to really integrate this new material science into the district. So we've worked with 9 different districts, and that was our first project. So we're really advocating, we call this the green lasagna, and second graders understand it. We need new trees. There's a lot of studies that show that we need about 30% tree canopy coverage to ensure that trees are located where students play, eat, circulate, not in the front of the school or a corner. And we're looking at also how to be resilient. I think asphalt should be illegal moving forward at schools. It's a byproduct of petroleum off gases. The heat that we're measuring is 140 plus. This is an example of a school in Altadena where we planted trees, then we realized it wasn't enough. We needed to whole scale remove the asphalt, replace it with pervious concrete, and add a lot of different landscape planters and collect stormwater. So this green lasagna, providing a human face to school infrastructure, is really about the necessity of integrating natural infrastructure. We've got some compliance issues. Right now, the stormwater permits only are relevant to community colleges, not yet to K through 12, but we know that's coming in the future. We also know that the heat mitigation plan that was just discussed is a critical issue. And if I were a Board of Education president, I would be up at night worried about the heat impact to younger students who we know do not register heat and express heat until there's a real problem. So we're looking at all these, kind of solving a lot of these problems with this multi-benefit approach. Students understand this when we talk to them about the game of trying to conserve water at their school by capturing it in rain gardens and bioswales and pervious surfaces and planters. And they're excited about it. So looking at stormwater management, we have a current grant. We've been working with CAL FIRE for the past 15 years to really integrate bioswales, rain gardens, pervious surfaces, and the urban forest, native plant landscapes with nature-based play and watershed interpretive elements to try to bring to life. A school is an incredibly precious space. It's our future. And so making nurturing green environments, this is just one example. I've got many case studies, but Jeff Seymour Family Center, we did in 2010, an elementary school where we have our traditional asphalt, which is very exciting and inspiring, sort of. So we cut it up based on community input. We made a meditation garden, a place for students to learn how to ride their bike off street. And we worked with an engineer to tell us how much water capture we needed to accomplish to make sure that we were not running off into the adjacent street. Did use cool pavement, biodiversity, and landscape to transform the feeling of the school into more of a park-like setting. So we like to think of each school, we only work in public Title I schools, as a microcosm of the greater watershed. So the reason I mentioned the bigger Emerald Necklace vision was because that's critical. We teach that to all students. I just spoke in Santa Monica a couple days ago to second graders about soil erosion and soil health. So we really like the whole concept to be integrated. Heat was just mentioned at great length. It is a serious problem. And I know any of us who have to spend the day at school where we ask the children to spend, we would not make it through the day. I do not think. It is so unpleasant and hot and a very serious health issue. And this requires that we also, this new material science, while I'm saying asphalt should be against the law, we also have drainage problems with asphalt, vector issues. In this particular school in Monrovia, there had been a legacy of flooding that lasted for decades. There's a lack of agency that a lot of schools feel because the water might be coming, in this case, 7 acres of water from Monrovia upstream, and it was too big of an issue for the school district to deal with, and the city wasn't ready to help with the challenge either. So that's where a group like our nonprofit, Catalytic, in figuring out how to turn this beautiful swamp, which was interesting for science but not great for all other purposes, into a usable space. So the simple inclusion into the new materials science of pervious concrete by a licensed, one of the best concrete folks in the state, integrating that into the front of school, removing asphalt, putting a new drive lane in that was pervious, that had infiltration, winding around the parking lot and taking excess water and putting it into a bioswale, adding a lot of trees to stop this drainage problem. And in this case, working with County Safe Clean Water, California Natural Resources Agency, Rivers and Mountains Conservancy, bringing together a mosaic of funding to both address stormwater vector issues and bring the celebratory joy of managing stormwater. Also means you're managing vector, because as we know, mosquitoes can thrive in one little catch basin and cause students to have a lot of hurt in terms of playing outside and even West Nile virus and other issues. So we like the combined solutions. In this case, this is the Mary Jackson School in Altadena. Underneath this Boulder classroom, this is when we first finished it, it's grown in a lot more now, is a large infiltration area. We've got 14,000 cubic feet of stormwater capture, so we're delivering less stormwater to the surrounding city, county streets, which do flood, and really beginning with kindergarten about what water resilience means. Having water conservation integrated into all of our visceral experience from a young age, and having students be part of that vision of, in this case, a lot of our San Gabriel Valley students look at the mountains. They may have never visited them, and they don't realize that that's where our local water comes from and our biodiversity. So here at Mary Jackson, we removed 40% of the asphalt in favor of a series of nature-based play areas underneath which are infiltration capture areas. And the shade that comes kind of connects the mountain and the mountain ecology to the local environment. So we like the complexity. We like giving teachers and therapists and different folks who run the school options to bring the students outdoors. This is, again, a winter landscape, working with recycled urban lumber. So we have the biodiversity quotient. We also have a movement into 20th century inclusivity. A lot of our schools have grandfathered in what I'd call 18th century ADA compliance. I know our daughter has cerebral palsy. The idea was, well, we have no students in the public school, so we don't have to address it. We could not go to public school. So these are inconceivable lapses of our humanity that we're subjecting our students to at this point. So we're really excited about bringing science together with more nurturing approach to physical fitness, mental health, immersive lessons that are outdoors, and the benefits of nature-based play. In this case, we have a recycled urban a lumber. We have a tree with a patented cleat that allows students to play on it. Underneath this is a 3-foot infiltration area for water capture. This science teacher, John Newell, is one of our favorites from Mary Jackson, integrating the lessons of erosion and biodiversity and different state standards into the outdoor spaces and embracing taking care of them so that that's part of the lessons. So again, this green lasagna, the ingredients are also an invitation for a new workforce. As we do more and more of these schools and integrate this new material science, we need people who understand how to care for pervious concrete, LID planters, bioswales, rain gardens, reflective pavement, and a lot of the interpretive elements that come with the new type of schools. So we are working with a number, we have about 6,000 students who help us per year. There's a lot of currency. Students want to help their peers, their siblings. They want to make these beautiful spaces. Parents are very involved in what we're doing. We are getting our funding from various sources, including CAL FIRE and Forestry, the State Natural Resources Agency, the Rivers and Mountains Conservancy, and I think more to come, more focus on this to come. Some of the heartburn that the schools we work with we work with 9 different school districts, not any of them are immune to these concerns. Declining school population with consolidations and closures, consequential fiscal challenges from that declining population, federal cuts, state cuts, a high management and staff turnover. It's unbelievable. I've been at Amigos for 22 years and I've seen, we have schools that we call 3, 4, 5, 6, 3 principals, 4 facilities directors, 5 superintendents, 6 chief business officers. It's very important that we have leadership that's stable, and aging facilities with deferred maintenance and code compliance issues. No archives of as-built as you would have in private sector so that you can manage your facilities in a proactive manner. ADA accessibility and path of travel not compliant. Excessive water and energy utility bills, stormwater challenges, heat management challenges, facilities departments with limited staff capacity and no expertise in this new materials science, limited procurement expertise on facilities staff so that they can procure the right kind of materials and realize the cost benefit. Given climate change imperatives, we really urgently need to deal with this new materials science. We lack an active and urgent embrace of the requirements. I have the distinction, our staff has the distinction of having lived through, we're Altadena fire survivors. Many of us lost our homes, including myself. We lost our office. So we understand the reality of when this happened. We helped Pasadena get the schools open and ready again to receive students. There's a mental health component to climate, and we're working with an incredible group of partners from USC, Green Schoolyards America, the Pacific Institute. We'll be issuing some case studies in June from Earth Economics to help the boards of education and facilities understand the cost and benefit, what might seem a little more expensive initially. For example, Pacific Pervious or Pervious Concrete, 9 years later, saves $200,000. So we're looking at the nitty gritty of the cost of what we call the MOM of these projects, the maintenance, the monitoring, operations, and maintenance, and trying to understand how to systemically change the way we conceive of public school infrastructure. We'll be giving a training on May 6th, if anyone is interested. And we're also really advocating for a greater cooperation between municipalities and school districts, because these infrastructure issues spill over into the walk to school, the drop off. And so we love when we see cities really say, we care about what you're dealing with at the school district, and vice versa. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share what we're up to.
Claire, thank you. That was brilliant. I appreciate you taking the time to be here and show us this with the real working examples. So we're running tight on time, but we would like to open it up for comments quickly so you can get an idea where we're at, and hopefully we will follow up with much more discussion. I'll open it up first for public comment. Do we have anyone with public comment online? I see none in person. So I'll move it back to the committee, and I saw Member Clark.
Yes, thank you so much. Claire and I go way back.
You're in alignment.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this is fantastic. We were on the Watershed Council together, and I remember being in Dorothy Green's house. She founded the Heal the Bay. She was one of the
Yeah.
first environmentalists in this whole area. And I didn't realize you were a fellow Bruin also. But this is really great. And the previous speaker talked about children not getting outside. And this, when you showed that book, Last Child in the Woods, that I've been saying that to everybody because he's saying the kids are so addicted now, this is my word, stupid video games, that they're not even getting out to the backyard tree. And he thinks that 20 years from now, there may be brain deficit, something, you know. And there, so, but some of these things are really fantastic that you're doing. And I also will say, I hope you guys can join the lobbying groups in Sacramento to stop these stupid bills that take away yards. I mean, that's just shooting yourself in the foot. We need these, we need trees. We need all this. So I'll shut up because I know we're.
Yeah, we're definitely going to follow up on your sign up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Great presentation. I love the fact that you guys had and referenced the book, The Last Child in the Woods. For those who haven't had the opportunity to read that book, please take a look at that book, especially if you're a parent to little ones. It goes really into detail about just like the disconnection and lack of nature that our kids have, and it relates it and it blames that to a lot of the issues that our children are facing nowadays, right, with health and attention and learning disorders and depression. And I personally see it because I'm a substitute teacher. So when I go sub and we're out in the playground, you know, proctoring and monitoring the kids, majority of the schools, you know, you're right, they are blacktop and jungle gyms and basketball courts. And there's this little square of grass, but most of the kids are running to that grass, right? They're not using the other stuff. But if we don't provide more of that they're attracted to, then you're going to end up with what the book refers to as the wired generation or something like that. So thank you for referencing that book. Please, if you guys have not read that book, take a look into it.
All right, great. Member Dawson?
Question, love this is my jam. I love it. Spent 9 years on school board. I've been advocating for this kind of stuff forever. Are you working with DSA at the state level to try to get this? I mean, that's what we always ran into whenever we try to do anything. So
Yeah, the Cal Fire and Forestry grant for green schools that came out in December of 2023, they have worked closely with Department of State architect to try to integrate the green school prerogatives with some of the regulation. And I think it's slow going. And I think we need to take our bureaucracy, big B, for a walk and really think about the child and make sure we're getting to goal within their life cycle in the school. We don't want the kindergartners to have this realized by the time they're in high school. So it's the time to streamline, look for efficiency, and make sure we don't get caught up. For example, I've heard that some of the concerns are the stormwater liability and water quality issues on campus. My contention is if you look at a lot of public one, especially Title I schools, there's already storm, water, and drainage problems, vector issues on the campuses. So this is a solution, not an added liability. So I think we really need to put our big E efficiency and make sure we cut through some of these, delays and things. Thank you. Appreciate the
Yeah,
opportunity.
thank you very much. I believe that was our last comment, so we're going to move on to our final so we can get out of here on time and for our next meeting. Thank you, Claire, again, so much for being here. I was into the whole presentation. So I have a few things I want to bring up as the chair's report. So SCAG is going to be publishing a new regional resilient toolkits. We heard some about toolkits today. So as we heard earlier, SCAG has published a new resource to support local communities with collaborative planning, information, and resource sharing that limit the effects of disasters and accelerate recovery for communities. And on just a second, yeah. Okay, communities in the entire Southern California region. So the toolkit is intended for use by any jurisdiction in Southern California, regardless of size, population, experience in resilience planning, or direct encounters with the shocks and stressors of the current age. Concurrently, I feel like, is this correct? Oh, no, it seemed like it was. Right. Okay, sorry about that. My staff's helping me out again. So concurrently, SCAG has also published the Water Resolution White Paper, which evaluates shared water management challenges and identifies opportunities for stronger coordination, investment, technical support across jurisdictions. You can learn more, of course, on the SCAG website on these items. This is an important one, the last mile freight program rebate. Today, the Regional Council will vote on action to approve $187,000 in last mile freight program rebate funding for 3 projects to purchase Class 4-5 battery electric vehicles. The last mile freight program provides a total of $50 million in funding from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, administered as part of the South Coast Air Quality Management District's Invest Clean program. The goal is to accelerate the adoption of zero-emission trucks, reduce emissions, and improve regional air quality. SCAG and South Coast Air Quality Management Districts are also preparing program adjustments to expand eligibility and boost participation when the program reopens later this summer. And on SoCal Greenprint moves to the final phase. The SoCal Greenprint, a data tool that uses publicly available resources to inform city and county land use and transportation decisions, is moving into the final phase of development. SCAG has begun reach out to agency staff and businesses and environmental representatives of the Greenprint Technical Advisory Committee, the group that provided the critical input on the adopted data standards to test the beta version of the tool. Their input will inform the subset tool to be developed and released in June, which is right around the corner. So this summer, SCAG will provide a demonstration of the tool, Energy and Environment Committee, and host a Toolbox Tuesday with a tour of the tool. So that's something I'll be looking forward to. Things are starting to produce tools that we can use for our communities. Right now, I'll turn it over to Yvette Marcias, our SCAG Senior Government Affairs Officer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the interest of time, I will be very brief. Just a reminder, if you haven't already done so to register to the SCAG General Assembly taking place May 7th and 8th at the J.W. Marriott on Palm Desert. And the SCAG scholarship is due, applications to that scholarship are due March 20th. So if you have students who are interested, again, SCAG is awarding 9 scholarships in the amount of $4,000 to high school students and community college students. Thank you so much, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you, Yvette. Do we have any additional announcements from staff? Seeing none, we'll move it to member comments or announcements. Nothing? Next meeting for the joint policy will be a joint policy committee meeting. I love those. Scheduled for Thursday, April 9th. Mark the calendars, and thank you all. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you for the bonus 2 minutes of your time.
Congratulations to the both of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick picture before you go.
Okay, yeah.
Start eating.